History is guided by the occult forces beyond the surface-level powers. As a matter of fact, it's these occult forces that control how history unfolds from another dimension. These hidden powers are known as the archons, and insight from Gnosticism teaches us how to be aware of these hidden powers at play. That's how we align ourselves with the light forces instead of being trapped by the grip of the shadow forces. Evil is ignorance, and the way to battle it is through knowledge or gnosis. In this video, we discuss the profound and often overlooked concept that history is guided by occult forces beyond the surface-level powers. We explore the Gnostic idea of the archons, the flawed rulers of the matrix. And we also encounter two significant cosmic forces, Lucifer and Ahriman, whose influences have shaped known history in profound ways. To comprehend the dynamics of Lucifer and Ahriman, we must first acknowledge the broader context of occult forces. These forces, known as archons, operate beyond the visible realm, orchestrating events and shaping human consciousness. Gnosticism, an ancient spiritual tradition, offers insights into understanding these hidden powers and how they influence our lives. The Gnostic text, the hypostasis of the archons, offers a fascinating perspective on these powerful beings. Here, the archons are depicted as flawed and arrogant entities, mistakenly birthed from the creative impulse of a divine being named Sophia. This creative act, however, went awry, resulting in a monstrous being filled with self-importance who proclaimed itself the sole god. The text itself captures Yaldabaoth's arrogance. "It is I who am God, and there is none other apart from me." Page 10. Their ignorance is further highlighted when, upon seeing a vast expanse of matter, Yaldabaoth declares his dominance. Opening his eyes, he saw a vast quantity of matter without limit, and he became arrogant. Page 9. The text even portrays the archons' limitations. "These authorities cannot defile you in that generation, for your abode is in incorruptibility." Page 9. This limited power and flawed nature resonate with figures like Lucifer, the fallen angel, and Ahriman, the Zoroastrian embodiment of evil, as they all represent forces of arrogance, ignorance, and control that keep humanity trapped in a limited reality. It's important to note that esoteric thinkers like Rudolf Steiner offered a more nuanced view. Steiner, the founder of anthroposophy, drew upon Gnostic ideas but reinterpreted the archons. He saw them as spiritual beings involved in humanity's evolution, not necessarily malicious. Steiner believed these beings, though flawed, played a role in shaping the physical world as a necessary stage for human development. At the heart of this idea lies the fundamental struggle between light and darkness, knowledge and ignorance. Evil, as understood in this context, is not merely a moral concept, but a manifestation of ignorance, a lack of awareness of the deeper truths that govern existence. The antidote to evil, then, is gnosis, the pursuit of knowledge that liberates us from the grip of darkness. Lucifer and Ahriman emerge as archetypal representations of these opposing forces. Lucifer, often associated with the light bringer or the morning star, embodies the quest for knowledge, enlightenment, and individualism. In various mythologies and religious traditions, Lucifer is depicted as a rebellious figure challenging established authority in pursuit of truth and autonomy. Throughout history, Luciferian impulses have driven humanity towards innovation, exploration, and intellectual advancement. It's the spirit of questioning, of seeking deeper understanding that characterizes Lucifer's influence. From the Renaissance to the scientific revolution, individuals inspired by Luciferian ideals have challenged dogma, expanded human knowledge, and transformed societies. Rudolf Steiner says, "Again, what wells up in our inmost being today is very strongly Luciferic. How can we train ourselves rightly in this direction? By diving into it with our Ahrimanic nature, that is to say, by trying to avoid all illusions about our own inner life and impulses and observing ourselves just as we observe the outer world. Modern people must realize how urgent it is to educate themselves in this way. Anyone who has an observant eye in these matters will often come across circumstances of which the following is an example. However, the pursuit of knowledge is not without its risks. Lucifer's quest for enlightenment can lead to hubris, arrogance, and a disregard for moral boundaries. The story of Lucifer's fall from grace serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the temptation to wield power without wisdom. On the other hand, Ahriman represents the forces of darkness, materialism, and stagnation. In Zoroastrianism, Ahriman is the embodiment of chaos, deceit, and the relentless pursuit of control. Unlike Lucifer, who seeks to transcend earthly limitations, Ahriman seeks dominion over the physical realm, enslaving humanity in a web of material desires and illusions. Rudolf Steiner says, "What is it that arises in modern people in an Ahrimanic form? It is his knowledge of the outer world. There is nothing more Ahrimanic than his knowledge of the material world, for it is sheer illusion." Throughout history, Ahrimanic forces have sought to impose order through oppression, conformity, and the suppression of individual freedom. From totalitarian regimes to corporate oligarchies, institutions influenced by Ahriman prioritize efficiency, productivity, and the profit at the expense of human dignity and spiritual fulfillment. The interplay between Luciferian and Ahrimanic forces shapes the trajectory of human history, leading to cycles of enlightenment and repression, revolution and tyranny. Each epoch bears the imprint of these cosmic archetypes, manifesting in cultural movements, political upheavals, and technological advancements. In ancient civilizations, the struggle between light and darkness was personified in mythological narratives and religious cosmologies. The stories of Prometheus stealing fire from the gods and the battle between Marduk and Tiamat reflect humanity's primal quest for knowledge and the forces that seek to subdue it. During the Middle Ages, the dominance of religious institutions stifled intellectual inquiry and imposed a rigid orthodoxy that suppressed dissent and innovation. The Inquisition, witch hunts, and the persecution of heretics exemplify the triumph of Ahrimanic forces, seeking to maintain control through fear and coercion. The Renaissance marked a resurgence of Luciferian ideals, as humanists, scientists, and artists challenged medieval orthodoxy and embraced a spirit of inquiry and exploration. The rediscovery of classical texts, the invention of the printing press, and the voyages of discovery heralded a new era of intellectual and cultural ferment, fueled by the desire to unlock the secrets of the universe. The Enlightenment furthered this pursuit of knowledge, as thinkers such as Voltaire, Rousseau, and Kant championed reason, liberty, and human rights against the forces of tyranny and superstition. The scientific revolution, with its emphasis on empirical observation and experimentation, paved the way for unprecedented technological progress and social change. However, the Enlightenment project also unleashed Ahrimanic forces, as the pursuit of rationality and progress gave rise to industrialization, colonialism, and the exploitation of nature and labor. The dark side of modernity, the rise of totalitarianism, the devastation of war, and the alienation of the individual, testifies to the dangers of unchecked materialism and technological hubris. In the contemporary era, we find ourselves at a crossroads, grappling with the consequences of our collective choices and confronting the existential challenges of our time. Climate change, technological disruption, and social inequality are symptoms of a deeper crisis, a crisis of consciousness, wherein we are called to reckon with the consequences of our actions and the limitations of our worldview. The forces of Lucifer and Ahriman continue to shape our world, influencing political movements, economic systems, and cultural trends. The rise of authoritarian populism, the consolidation of corporate power, and the erosion of democratic norms reflect the ascendancy of Ahrimanic forces, seeking to entrench hierarchies of power and privilege at the expense of human dignity and planetary health. The fight against these unseen forces isn't waged with physical weapons. It's a battle for awareness. Gnosticism emphasizes the importance of self-knowledge and critical thinking. By understanding our own motivations, desires, and vulnerabilities, we become less susceptible to manipulation. So, what are these forces of good? They are the counterpoint to the archons, the aspects that promote love, compassion, creativity, and the pursuit of truth. These forces can manifest within individuals, movements, and even historical figures who championed positive change. Understanding the potential role of occult forces doesn't diminish human agency. We still make choices, shape our destinies, and create our world. However, with gnosis, we become more conscious participants. Remember, this is just the beginning. There's much more to explore. Research Gnosticism, delve into the symbolism of Lucifer and Ahriman, and examine historical events with a critical eye. Ask yourself, who benefits? What hidden agendas might be at play? This is your journey of awakening. Embrace the gnosis and become the author of your own story. To align ourselves with the forces of light, we must cultivate wisdom, compassion, and humility.